Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing a video on my thoughts and first impression for a game I recently finished, which is Diablo 1. Before I get into the video and my thoughts, I do want to state that I had to use a modded version. I'll leave the information on the bottom, but basically ran into an issue where I wanted to stream the authentic version of it, the first created version of it through Blizzard, but unfortunately I wasn't able to stream it in full screen for the viewers on my live stream, so I had to download a modded version just to be able to get it on full screen. Now, I don't particularly remember all the extra bits that there were in the game. I didn't want to know. I wanted to be as oblivious going into it as possible, as well as I just wanted to be as authentic as possible. The only ones that I do remember would be the storage and the storage for gold. I don't think that's given to you in the first game. So I just wanted to put it out there so that as much as I wanted to be as authentic as possible, I wasn't exactly able to do so unless I would have played the game completely off stream and just tested it out myself. Now, going straight into it, the main words that come to my head when I think about Diablo 1 is this game is so charming. For a oldie and goodie, this game is just everything that you want with a little bit of struggle, and it's just such a lovely playthrough. Now, one of the main points that I really enjoyed was the immersion in this game. Everything from the soundtrack to the graphics, of course they'll be old-fashioned graphics, but everything from the images, the materials, everything in the game kind of made you feel very immersed. And in the game the whole way through, I was still tripping out at some of the voices and some of the noises and soundtrack pieces that were going on when I was down in the caves, down in the dungeons. So that is very well done. I really enjoy that, and I don't think my immersion ever broke out. In fact, at some point I found myself being so locked in and dialed into this game that I wasn't able to keep up with the chat because I was just so into it. I was so immersed, and it was just brilliant. It was great. Another point is that this game does allow you to play through in the same fashion as D2, which I really do appreciate that they kept that going, is that you're able to play the game without doing specific quests, or you're not mandatory to do all the quests, and you can just continue on and level on and you'll still get to the same point and same goal at the end of it, which I can really appreciate, because you're not being forced to do certain things that you don't want to do, which then if you are forced to do things, they become very mandatory, and it's like, oh, that's a job, I'm not appreciating this anymore. So in this gameplay, they again just let you have the freedom of going ahead and playing your game, and if you stumbled upon a quest, well, there you had it. If you talked to the townfolk, you had a quest. So it wasn't mandatory. You could go on and play the game and win the game without those quests. They're in an audition and you can get rewards for them, but it's not like you're really missing those rewards or you can't get through it. So I could really appreciate that in this game as well. In regards to the gear and rewards and such, they felt very generous, but not overly spammed. I think I received a fair amount of generous loot that made me feel quite strong. But the best part of it is that every time I did get that upgrade, I felt that strength in my character, which was really, really welcoming, and finally a breath of fresh air. Just being able to rely on the gear that you get and some upgrades and such, and feeling that bit of kick in it where, okay, now I feel buzzed, now I feel strong, like I want to go and conquer more and be more brave, and it really did pay off. So the amount of gear you would get was, in my game specifically, it was generous but not too much, so I didn't feel too overloaded. But I got some really good pieces, which I was very happy about, and they made me very strong. So the loot system is pretty fair. Along with feeling strong and brave and very OP, the scaling in the game felt so natural. I'm not exactly sure how the scaling in the game is done. You get more and more equipment, you get more stats. Along with that, the creeps they start coming in groups. So you do feel like the difficulty of the game is naturally scaling up and up very smoothly. So I'm not sure how they actually did it in this game, but it does feel like you are justifiably stronger in regards to the mobs and the bosses and such. Now, in some of the cases where I was so locked and dialed in, I got myself in a very sticky situations, and because I chose to just play a standard archer, basically, I will explain that later, I got myself to have to loop some mobs and to loop the bosses, and that felt really, really gratifying. I wouldn't say it's innovative, but it's definitely on the scale of if you're playing an older game, having that skill to be able to loop it is like a plus. But you could also argue that, you know, back when this game was released, maybe looping was not a common thing. So it's kind of nice that it still works with an older style games. So lastly, I want to touch base on my characters. So I originally was discussing and I was thinking about using a warrior or a sorceress instead of rogue, but then I said, oh, rogue has a bow, and me, I love being able to be as far away from the mobs and the bosses as I possibly can be. So for me, having a bow was a no-brainer. That was always going to be the case. So I chose the rogue, and what I really like about D1 is that the loot is not specified, okay? So you're not getting specific loots, only specific classes or specified to the classes, and you're able to kind of develop your own character in whatever way you want, if that makes sense. So instead of having specific gear, I was able to just lock down on my bow skills. I had insane dexterity buff on my bow that I bought from the merchant. I felt like just being able to clear the game continuously on with just a bow and just a TP or a HP spell, to me that's pretty broken. Like, I didn't have to do all these crazy things in mid-max and be as strong as I possibly could be just to get through it. No, I stuck with a bow that I started with at the start as a technique, a skill. I had a little health buff that sometimes I used. I had a staff that I was able to use a teleport for, so I kind of switched my pieces out every so often to go town. But then I ended up finding the book of teleport, so I was able to use that instead. But other than that, I didn't feel the need to have more spells or be stronger in any way. The progression felt really good in regards to the character. Even though I was very lucky with the bow that I received and getting so much dexterity under the belt, it still felt as if this character could go in a different route if I wanted to change. So because, spoiler alert, you will eventually be able to get some great potions that will help your stats, it does allow you to experiment with the character in a later game. So you don't feel like, oh, well, I can't reset my skills now, this is what I'm stuck with and I'm stuck on this segment. Like, no, you can probably just grind, okay? You can use some of these potions and you can get yourself on a different level that you want it to be. So for example, for my character, because I had so much dexterity, I had about double in attributes than I had to my stats. So I popped a lot of my points into vitality, so my HP. So by the end of the game, when I was fighting the boss, I had a lot of HP as well as a lot of dexterity and power. So I was able to just stand there, shoot the final boss and pop health pots, tanking a lot of the damage. So I felt very strong and like just generally a very beefy character, which was exactly the type of playstyle I would have really enjoyed. So the fact that I was able to do that without knowing how to play the game feels insane. Like, it feels insane, because I feel nowadays with a lot of newer games, you do struggle with finding your own balance unless you check stuff online. And to be able to achieve this without knowing anything about the game, it just feels so natural, and it just feels like that's the way games should feel, that you have absolutely no outside resources in regards to online forums or you know, community or anything like that. You're playing your game, you're enjoying your game, and you're able to fix things or figure things out within the game yourself. and play your way and still achieve exactly what you should be achieving by the end goal. I feel like that is just a basic natural progression of the game that it should involve in every single game that you play, whether that's solo or multiplayer. Multiplayer can be a little bit more complicated due to outside resources within your group or whatever, but in regards to solo plays such as this, it was just on point. It was just top tier gameplay on point. That's all I can say about that. It's just top tier, bro. Top tier. Now, just to end it off, I will say to all the other people who have sensitive eyes, be prepared that about 3 hours, 4 hours, your eyes will hurt and you're gonna get a headache. Because personally, I have sensitive eyes, and I do usually have the light beaming down on me when I'm streaming. But when it comes to this game and the classic graphics for Diablo, it does hurt my eyes because they're sensitive. So I would advise just taking it a few hours at a time, or, you know, if you want to go ahead, but just saying it is a warning that your eyes might hurt. So to conclude my first impressions, I hope I'm not forgetting anything. I did write down notes, but I'm sure I am. So if I have forgotten something, you can leave it down in the comments. But overall, if you're looking for just a simple, fun game to play with some interesting drops and great storylines, with a massive cliffhanger at the end, I mean, Diablo 1 is a fun old game to play through. It took me possibly 10 hours, I want to say, a little bit more. But then again, I'm a slow player. I take my time. I don't want to feel rushed. I don't need to be rushed. So I take my time. Oh yeah, one more thing in town. So apparently the modded version, I did forget about that, is you can enable running in town. Nuh-uh, we ain't doing that. We're chilling, bro. We're chilling. I wanted to be as authentic as possible. I wanted to play Diablo 1 as it was created, but because I couldn't do that, I was keeping everything else as authentic as possible. So I didn't want to know. We could run in town. No, we can't. Okay, we walking. Just say it. But yes, that would conclude my first impressions. I do love the game. I adore the game. It is a replayable game that you want to. Right now, I feel like I've played the game, I won the game, and I feel really good about it. Would I go back and repeat the game? I probably would, just to try the characters and the different classes, sorry. But for the time being, I feel very accomplished, and that feels good. That's a good buff to have, you know? So yeah, thank you very much for watching the video. I hope I didn't forget things. If I have, as I said, leave them down below. And I guess I shall see you on my lives, possibly, or on the next one. Thank you very much. Don't forget the thumbs up. Subscribe if you're here new. I usually do more live content about Diablo in general, but some more games like World of Warcraft and such. So thank you very much, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.